Okay, so we talked about Revit. This is the intro 2 in a way. So let's start. Remember just to start always with the architectural template. It's important. Okay. I talked about the different parts, the properties, the project browser as fundamental elements or panels that you need to have around here in Revit all the time. Again, you can dock them and put in whatever you want. I mentioned that as you create things, it's more important that you think of what are the parameters that measure or that evaluate that thing. For example, wall. If I click on wall, it's very important that before you start drawing walls like crazy, that you think, what are the parameters that somehow control the wall, no? And that one of the parameters fundamental is actually, well, the type of wall. So you will select the type of wall that you want to do. Another parameter is important is like, if you think of each of these elements, like from where to where the wall goes, not from bottom to top. So you could set that in a couple of places. You can say the height to whatever level. We talked about levels last class. Or you can say base constraint and base offset. And here it says also top constraint. You can change that here as well. Regardless, either place, you have to set that top and bottom constraints. Okay, you can create walls with any of these kind of lines or curves. Again, as you create a wall directly, you went to the option of modify, and you can select, for example, rectangle, and create that wall with a rectangular shape. If you escape once, you step out of the creation of that rectangle, and twice out of the wall command. You can create other types of walls by selecting the type. And then again, base and top constraint, you can do them here, top constraint. And then you can draw any other type of geometry. You have circles, ellipses. One that is very powerful is the classic fillet, that in AutoCAD will be with a fillet command. Here it works in a different way. You create one line, you escape to step out of that line, so you don't do a polyline. Another line, escape, and then you use the fillet option here. Sorry, right there, fillet arc. So you have to be creating walls, okay, or creating lines in other cases, but you have to be in the creation of walls to click that option, select the end of the wall, the end of the other wall, and then you can decide the radius. Okay, great. So if you had another line, I'm going to do a wall with a different type of material. And another one here. I could again choose the fillet between these two. Okay, and create that type of filleting quality. Obviously, we can select the walls after we have created them. They turn blue, and then you can change the type to a different type. You can also change the constraints, the top and bottom constraints, by saying base constraint level 1. If I had another level, I could say it here. No? So you can change things after you have made them, but it's best practice if you think beforehand, how do you want to create that wall. Okay, if we want to see the 3D, that will be on the little doghouse, and we have this little guy here. And again, we talked about how we use these commands. We have the scale, we have the detail view or coarse view, the way we see the 3D model, similar to other softwares. The sun path and the sun settings is going to be done. I'm going to do it again, a little more advanced settings here a little bit. Shadows on, shadows off, that will regard to the sun settings, of course. And then cropping region on and cropping region off. Okay, we also have the glasses and the light bulb to see things differently. So if you want to hide something, if you want to isolate something the similar way you will do in AutoCAD, you can use the glasses for temporary hiding and unhiding. And for more fixed hiding and hiding, I would probably use the right-click button. You select something, right-click, hide in view, and you select elements or categories. Okay, you can also select, and also good practice, the VV shortcut or VG as in visibility in graphics. And you can uncheck whatever category you want to hide. And if you say okay, that will be hidden. You can go back again, VV, and you can check it again to reveal it. In the beginning, it might be tricky to know how many categories, what is this category about, but you're only going to be using the most fundamental ones, which are walls, windows, and ceilings. So just follow your intuition and search for the elements that you think are following the description of your project component. Okay, we talked about also floors. We went to floors, we click on floor. We have to select also the type of floor that we want. And what we said is that you need to create a polyline, a closed polyline with these lines. And once you have done this polyline and it's a closed polyline, then you can say I'm done. So in this case, it's quite straightforward. First thing is to also understand where are you? I am at level 1, which means that my floor is going to be created at level 1. You can zoom in, snap there, and the rectangle could go to this point. Say okay. And there is the floor that I can select carefully. I also mentioned about how we can select multiple walls or elements that are continuous, and that's with the tab command. If you step on top of a wall, you do not select it yet, but you press tab, it selects the chain of walls that are connected to each other. That is in any case. You select tab only once in Sharp. Okay, let's do another floor. I'm going to do floor here. Oops, that was roof, sorry. Floor, and I'm going to do a floor here. Now I could start drawing the lines of the polyline, but I also have the option of picking lines or picking walls. If I pick walls, I can select wall, 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 and as I select them, notice how a magenta line appears. That's a smart move from Revit to be able to create the magenta line by selecting things that are already on the interface in Revit. So you say, okay, as long as a closed polyline, you're good to go. Again, another wall is there. I can change the type of wall also after. Each of those are associated to a pattern, and we'll be talking about patterns and all these things later on in the semester when materials come in. Okay, we have a floor, we have walls, we need a roof. So let's go to where you want the roof. And for that, first, I'm going to actually go to an elevation, and I talked about levels. No? We can change the levels by just selecting and moving with shortcut MV up, and let's say 2 feet. You can select and drag up, just maintaining the mouse press, or you can also click at the number and place whatever height you want. Imagine you are actually in a 5th floor and you're all interested in a 5th floor interior space. You can actually rename the levels and call it level 5. Say rename, yes, so that will be rename as level 5, and most probably that would be your level 6. Okay. Now this is 0, 0 still, because that's the entrance level for your 5th floor. Okay, I wouldn't name that with whatever feet the building's height is. Okay, that will keep it like that. Again, you can rename those as you see fit. As I rename the levels, they're changing the ceiling plan in the floor plan, so that's fantastic. Now, where's the roof? The roof is on top of level 6. So here's the thing, I've seen many times interior designers in school thinking that if it's on top of my project, that's called a roof, but roof is only where it rains on top. That's called the roof, and that's technically correct, and as a construction issue is if it rains on top. So if you have a 7th floor, a 9th floor, a 10th floor, you have another floor on top. You don't have a roof. Another floor maybe with its own ceiling. So that's something for you probably to think before you call it roof, to say on the top floor, lower floor. No? So let's imagine we do have a roof on our level 6. I'm going to go to level 6. I'm going to actually create a roof. Again, important that you are on the level you want to be, level 6. And roofs are exactly the same as floors. There's just a slight difference. Okay, I'm going to create a polyline. And as I create a polyline for that roof, notice how there's this little symbol. It indicates that the roof will be sloped. If I say I'm done here, look what happens in 3D. This means that actually from every single line of the roof, or the perimeter of the roof, we have a slanted roof. If I select the roof, the same as in the floor, I can edit the footprint of the roof. This, again, that if it has the symbol, it's going to be slanted. If it does not have the symbol, it won't be slanted. So if I select one of these lines only, and I say here, define slope, the symbol disappears. And now imagine a roof that slants from this line, and from this other line. Say, okay. And this is what you get. Let's try again. Edit footprint. If I select that one and uncheck define slope, imagine a roof that only slants from 1 and 2 and the other ones are not. This is what you get. And again, I'm double clicking instead of selecting the other one. Select both of them. And what if there's no, actually, let me do with only one so we can see the difference. Define slope, there's only one with define slope. That means that it's going to slope only in that direction, no? That makes sense. And finally, you can select that one and have all of them with no slope, and that would mean that it's a flat roof. Okay, so you have all those options, and this is a very simple type of roof, but if it was a more complex one, it will do it. For example, here, let's try to do another roof on top of this one, roof. And I'm gonna pick up lines, and I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3. I'm going in the exterior, and that will be a problem. So I want to make sure this actually is considered. Pick lines, and again, that little one right there will be a problem. Notice how even the little one has a little defined slope. So again, you have all of the lines that I have created have a slope. I can get rid of them all at the same time and say, okay, and it will create a flat. Oh, there you go, the problem, no? Pick. This is a good moment to have the thin line so you can see more precisely what's going on. There was a little thing there. Define slope. In my guess, there's another one in the other side. No. It's because they're different types of partitions. That means that if one is thicker, you have to actually fill it there. No? If they were all the same, then there's no problem. Okay. That's my roof right there. But let's imagine there's another level. I copy this level, put it up there. It's called level 7, 32 inches. And remember that if I copy the levels, they're actually in black tone instead of blue. And if you want to bring them to the project browser, you just need to make sure you go to View, Plan Views, Floor Plan, and select the only option so it comes there. The same for ceiling plans. Okay. How do I create another floor? Well, that's quite straightforward. I'm going to go to level 7. Here's another thing I want to talk about today. It's like I go to level 7, I don't see anything down there, even though I should be because it's below. There's a very important property under the properties panel that you can choose. Is actually the underlay. Underlay allows you to see more or less downwards, upwards, etc., from a plan. So you can say, I want to see range. I want to see way down to level 5. If you do that, then you have a chance to see below. No? Before it was set to none, so you can only see basically yourself. This is great because you can choose, I want to see level 6 only. I want to see this other level. I want to see the other one. And it's useful because imagine you're in a skyscraper with 4 floors and you're in the 10th floor, you want to see level 8. No, you can say, I want to see level 8 now to see the distribution and make it similar. Now that I can see level 5 and 6, I can do the walls. I can pick as well. Again, there's a little offset issue. That's another story of details. And here's probably a problem I did. I went to level 7 to create the wall. So let me go actually to level 6. So level 6, wall, pick, and then make sure that the constraint of the wall is actually up to level 7. And now you pick the lines. Okay, so that was it. Level floor. I have another set of walls here, and then I can create a roof above this. So that would be roof, pick lines or pick walls. I can press tab to select all at once, select all of them and get rid of the defined slopes and say, okay. Now, because I have 2 floors in this one, now this wouldn't make sense that it's actually a roof, no? So I should be doing a floor there at level 6. That would be a floor, pick walls, tab, select. This is, I have to fix these things. So it's creating a line here. It's probably there, it's done. There you go. So that's a floor, perfect. Here we have a little 2-floor building and a 1-floor building here. I'm gonna save it. And imagine this is pretty much done. Well, you need to obviously place windows. And I'm going to talk now a bit more about how we can actually select our own windows and create our own windows. Not create, but search for other windows that exist out there. We can place, obviously, doors of different types. Okay. There's another type of wall we haven't talked about, and I will talk about today, which is the curtain wall. It's a very important one. And actually, I can start that. What if this entire wall is actually a curtain wall? I'm going to delete that wall. I'm going to go to level 5, and I'm going to do wall. And one of the types all the way at the bottom is called curtain wall, exterior glazing and storefront. They're essentially the same, but they're like meant to different functions. So in general, I will probably create a curtain wall, and I will place that curtain wall here. Okay, I can select it and make sure that the constraint is level 6. So let me see what actually happened here. When I create a curtain wall, it creates just a big glass panel. Actually, I want to leave, I don't know if anybody's still, hopefully everybody's around. When you create a grid, it's almost like you cut in the glass only. But when you create a grid, it's to create a mullion, the only way to do that is if you first create a grid. And now I'm going to talk about that in a second. But think of grids, and you can rearrange the grids in many ways. You can say all except, and then you can say place them here, and you can cut half of it. So there are ways of saying not here, not there. So you can create a very sophisticated cuts in the glass. These are not only cuts in the glass, these are also potential mullion positions of your curtain wall. And let me explain that. After you have cut, and by the way, you can move the cuts around, up and down, right and left. And again, you can edit them. You can add and remove segments of your grid. But once you're done with the cuts, you can go to Architecture, Mullion. And Mullion, you have 3 options. I want a particular mullion. What type? This type, that other type, etc., etc. You have circular mullions, square mullions, small, 1 inch, 1.5 by 2.5 rectangular, etc., etc. You can say I want this mullion here, and it creates a mullion. I want this other mullion type in all of the grids, and it creates them. And then this obviously is model material, so you will definitely be rendering them. We will talk actually now about how we change a panel, how we change a mullion. But this is the curvilinear one. Obviously in the flat, curtain wall is exactly the same, curtain grid. You cut vertically or horizontally. Notice, remember that Revit helps us a lot with dimensions. You can say this curtain grid is exactly 10 feet from the other one. This curtain grid is 6 feet from the bottom floor, etc., etc. You can also select them and MV to move them whatever dimension. Okay, I have cut the glass, let's say, and now I'm going to do mullions. I can do 1 by 1, or I can do all of the mullions at once. I'm going to hide the roof for a second. Okay, Now here's the tricky part. You're done with the curtain walls, but you want to select only the mullion or only one panel or the entire curtain wall. In every curtain wall, there's 3 elements that you can select. Number 1, the entire thing. In order to select the entire thing, you need to see the dashed lines covering the perimeter of the entire curtain wall. You select it, and when you select it, it will say here, wall. You can change to another type of wall or whatever it is that you need to do in terms of the wall. Here's the thing, you can also, if you hover on top of the mullion carefully, it will turn blue. You can select that. And it will say here, curtain wall mullion. And you can edit that, change the type to a thinner. You can select the panel and you can select the grid. But Revit has a tricky thing. I like it personally now, but I hate it in the beginning, is that you, in order to select things that you can't reach because they are behind something else, you need to press the tab several times. For example, if I step on top of this mullion, I can select the mullion, but I know there's a grid behind. If I press tab, it will shift from whatever's in front to the other thing that is in front, to the next thing that is in front, etc. Tab, that's the grid. Notice how I'm pressing tab and the selection changes. It goes from the curtain wall now to the grid, to the panel in the bottom, to the panel above, to the grid back again. That's the only way to select some things in Revit, is using the tab button. You hover on top of the thing you want to select. If it's not turned blue, the one you want, press tab once. It's not what you want, press tab twice. If it's not what you want, press tab 3 times, and so on until you get what you want. Let's imagine I want to select the panel. I click now. It says curtain panel. I can change the panel. And it could be an empty panel, for example. No more panel. You can select the wall as a panel. We can create, and that will be a little bit later. What if we want to create a panel that is red glass translucent? No? For now, we only have the empty option, which is okay. Why not? I could again select the grid by pressing tab, tab. Here's the grid, and move the grid, which moves the mullions with it. So we can select grids, we can select mullions, we can select panels, we can select the entire curtain wall. Curtain walls are tricky. There's a lot of stuff going on, but they're actually very important for you to know how they work. I'll go back to have that panel where it was. As you remember, the light bulb, I turn off the roof, and I can turn on the light, see the roof selected, right click, unhide element. Okay. Let's create a stair. I want to talk about stairs from this floor 5th to 6th. To create a stair, you obviously need to select the level on the bottom where you're creating the stair. And you will click on stair. It enters the modify section, and you're given different options of stairs. You have the straight line stair, and I'm going to do those outside. Now, before you start doing stairs like crazy, what parameters you might want to think, what parameters and what type of stair you want to deal with. We have the assemble, which is normally metal or wood, the monolithic, which is concrete pouring in, and you have also the precast stair, which is concrete but actually fabricated outside and broad as an entire piece or several pieces. You choose the type of stair, from where to where. That makes sense. It's something you need to know. And obviously the width of the stair. Is it very width? It's like 4 feet. What is it? No. The most common stair that you're going to be using in Revit is actually the first one, is the straight. The way stairs work in Revit is by clicking once, dragging, and as you drag, you're creating the steps one by one. To the bottom of the stair, as you create it, it tells you, hey, you have done 16 risers, is the vertical element. You still have 12 to go. It's very helpful because you might want to measure the metal, 14 and 14 and so on. I'm going to do a very simple straight stair, no landing or anything. You click at the end, you're done. Automatically Revit creates the drawing, the section cut, the up symbol, etc., etc. If I look at the 3D, this is the stair that I'm given. If I look at the stair from below or from underneath, I can see that it's made of different parts, maybe wood, maybe metal. I can select also many things in a stair, similar to a curtain wall. I can select the railing of the stair, separate it, it will say railing, and change the type of railing. I can select the stair itself and change the type of stair to monolithic, for example. Notice how now it's concrete. And we will see many other things because you can actually edit the stairs. Okay, you can edit the stairs and you can actually change some of the runs, some of the parameters, some of the way it flows, etc., etc. But we'll talk about that in another class in more detail. Okay, so if we go to level 5 and create another stair, straight. As I create the stair, same parameters, I can stop in the middle, 14, 14, click. Now I can start after landing the following set of steps. Done. That creates the same stair, but with a landing in the middle. Again, I can select the railings and change them to however I want, etc., etc. With the straight stair, the same exact option, I can still do 14 and do a railing, sorry, as a landing separated and start the other stair in an angle, for example. And I say I'm done. Let me delete this curtain wall and this wall. I did the landing and then I started the next series of steps in an angle. Well, you can delete. Imagine one of the sides of the stairs has the wall, so then you can delete the railing and does not have a railing. Stair, straight. I can also do 14 and do a landing exactly aligned with the ending and going backwards. Done. That would make a U-shape stair. Okay, more stairs. And this is only with the first option. You can do 1, and then instead of 14, I can stop in 8 And I can do now in an angle, wait a minute. In an angle here, another 8, and then I can do in another angle here, and then I can do an even more funky thing there. So I can split the number of steps and landings and so on, as long as the number of steps and risers are exactly the same. Okay, so there are obviously the other options, which are a bit more straightforward. You have the full step spiral. So you will click once and you will decide the different radius. And say you're done. You also have the center end spiral. So you will do, and then you can actually create a landing with another one. So it could be even more funky than the previous. I think this is getting out of control though. Oh, why not? Let's take a look what we have here. Classic spiral stair, and this one has different rounds and different things happening. Now, notice how it's taking a lot of time to think about it. It's not only the Zoom sharing and the video recording, it's because the stairs have a lot of details. Each of those are actually a model component, no? So don't, create a, just for testing outside of your project many stairs, just do the ones you need and that should be it. I'll delete those. Okay, there are many other stairs. L shape just does it and doesn't really ask you too much about. And then the U shape, which is I think in most of the states it's probably legal, this stair, but anyway, it's another story. You can do that one. Okay, so stairs is these are for the standard stairs. There are ways to edit some features of this straight stair, which I think is the one that you should be working normally, unless you have a spiral one. And the way it works is as it goes. If I do a more conventional U-shaped stair, which is one that normally is out there, but you could have a straight one, etc. Okay. You can select the stair, edit the stairs, select each of the components separately. So after you edit the stair, you can select the step component, the landing component, or the other step component. If you have more, you have more. If I select, for example, the landing, I could what is called convert to sketch space. Now, if you convert this, you can go back. This is good or bad. Just acknowledge that you can go back to the previous. So once you do that, you can edit the sketch of the stair, and it will pop this green line that you can edit. If you edit, think of it as an extrusion element, you can actually create a stair that has a landing like circular. So if you say, okay, whatever the landing was, it will be transformed with that curve, and you can say, okay, and then the railing as well will be shaped accordingly. Okay. You can edit the stair again, select the component of the stair, transform, convert this one. Once you convert, you can select the one and edit sketch. It turns on green, and you can do not so many things, but some of the things are very powerful. For example, moving this line to the side As long as every single line or riser of the step can actually extend to the green line, in theory, it should deform the stair to your will. So many times a step, it's a little bit bigger in the beginning, or in a particular angle, you might need to do this. It's very useful to do that. Again, select the stair, edit the stair, select the component you want to change. You go to Tools, Convert. Once it's converted, it's converted. I'm just doing the 3 pieces. Select the converted piece, edit sketch, and you can change the green line for another line, such as an arc. See, this is a little funky. Let's see if it works. There you go. So as long as every single riser line seen from the top extends to that line, it will resolve the stair. By the way, there's another issue. Like sometimes you're, orbitating is not orbiting around the objects. Select the object, and then it orbitates around that object. It's actually very, very useful and necessary. Notice how we're starting having some little concerns. That's the Revit world. Complex things gives problems. Okay, so be careful. And I'm doing not a complex, but a kind of a weird thing for Revit standards. If you're thinking, because everybody places in the interior design proposals more of a stand condition with little steps, that's more of a model in place concern. And it's a bit more sophisticated, and we will see that relatively soon, but not yet. Okay, so that's the world of stairs. If I want to create a stair in this project, which has 2, I will go to level 5. I will do a stair. I'm going to do a line here, and I'm going to do something here just for the sake of it. Okay, I'm going to select the stair. I'm going to edit it just because I want to test that option again. Convert that one and select again, edit sketch. And maybe what I'm going to do is like the fillet option between these 2. So it's very close to the other curve. I can actually make it exact, but I'm just going to do it. Oops. There you go. Okay, so it is there. If I go to WF, which is wireframe, there's my stair. If I go to level 5, I can see it. If I go to level 6, I see it below just this little part. Why? Because there's a floor. And I need to do the floor opening. No, it kind of makes sense. So I'm going to select by pressing tab one after the other one until I actually get the floor. If you don't get it, sometimes you have to just move around. No. There you select it, floor, edit boundary, and I can create my funky opening of the floor. And here's where you need to think about, the head hit and so on. But I can start thinking, well, potentially this line is needed here. This goes up, and probably another line could be around here. I can do fillet, trim, which is actually this option. Trim is like the fillet 90 degrees in AutoCAD. And I get rid of these other elements, say okay. And that will be the opening of my floor. I go up, come down. In this particular stair, I definitely don't need the railing. Delete that one. Okay. So again, the openings could be simple squares in the middle of the floor. They could be round like I just did. Let me create a camera. How are we doing time? 15 minutes. If I create a camera, I can place the camera inside of the space, and I can expand the cropping region to see further up. And that's where we are now. You can create another camera, as many as you want. Every time you create a camera, you're just creating another view under the 3D views here. I can create another camera from this point. And again, change a little bit the underneath the stair there. I can use this option, the navigation wheel, to maybe walk forward a little bit. And I could potentially look up. And I can see the thing as I wish. No? Got it. I could create cameras here to look into the space. Curtain walls that I did before. Windows, doors, etc. I can edit some things from the camera. Sometimes it's actually useful. I can move the grids or the mullions or whatever. That should be fine. I know there's a ceiling element here that needs to be added, so I can do railings, which is another option here. You can pick lines here. You can't make railings on splines, so be careful. The splines are very nice, but sometimes you can't do well, sometimes you cannot do railings. You cannot do curtain walls and some other features on splines, so be careful. If you want to do a very crazy curve, what you want to do is a series of lines and tangent arcs associated to it. Okay. Okay, so notice how I'm working with the wireframe, WF wireframe mode, hidden line HL. You know, I want to see the guts of this project as I work with it, and it's very uncomfortable that I cannot see through this and work some of the features. Obviously, you should be able to hide like elements such as the roof to work on things in the 3D, but there are other ways to do this. You can also use what is the section box, and we're going to use the section box a lot because it's the way we do the section axonometrics and so on. The way it works is that you go down to section box and check it. Okay, if you check section box, you're going to have a bounding box as big as all of the elements that you have in your project. Before moving on, I want to say that Revit is not AutoCAD, and you should never have more than one project in the center of it all. You shouldn't have, like I'm doing now, one project here, another one there. You should not bring elements outside of your own project. Like, let's say in AutoCAD, you start bringing things from another project, and then you start copying and pasting things around. In Revit, you should have a one thing, and you should hide and unhide things that are in this place that should be in the project, okay? So don't actually start gathering a lot of stuff around. That's actually bad practice in Revit. I'm gonna hide the levels, because in this case, I don't need them. So that's the section box. I can select it and move these little arrows, so they start cutting the project in ways that allows me to see the project better. So imagine you want to see, for example, getting rid of the roof and the front at the same time to see a little bit of how the stair works. That's a very nice kind of axonometric maybe to show the stair. You can select the section box, and it's like any other object. You can hide the elements. So it is there, but you're not seeing it. Okay. If you want to see the section box, light bulb, section box, right click and hide element. Light bulb again. Okay, we're getting to the end. So I'm going to talk about, take one single thing, and I'll expand on this, of course. How do we take one thing to InDesign from Revit? Let's imagine I have a plan and I want to take this to InDesign as my final plan. For this, I'm going to actually delete. Let me get rid of this. The section box for a second. Okay, let's imagine this is my project. I want to take level 5 to InDesign, but I could also do, I'm going to do also the 3D view, this perspective. No. This perspective or axonometric, okay, which I can duplicate and give it a name such as to InDesign. Okay, so level 5 plan and to InDesign the 3D view. We need to print this file, print, and we need to create a PDF of this, and the drawing should be as final as possible. One thing we need to do is start cleaning those symbols. Right click, hide category, so we don't have, and we concentrate on only the drawing. Again, file, print. Adobe PDF, create separate files, select the views. We're going to select the InDesign and level 5 floor plan. I'm going to ask you always, you want to save it? I don't want to say no unless it's like 50 and I have to repeat it more in an office work. Setup, very important. You can save the setups or you can just go for it. Let's say tabloid, for example. It could be letter, depending on the size of your plan. And I'm not sure how big this plan is going to be because it depends on the scale as well. Let's say tabloid just in case. Center, zoom 100%. You should not say fit to page because that would change the scale of the drawing. Now, if the plan at 1/8 fits on a tabloid at that scale, then you're going to be fine, but it could be smaller or big, the paper. Let's see. Those are the settings, selected views, create, and then you say okay. And I'm going to save it in the here. It's going to think. It's asking me for the second PDF now. I could have said also, give me one single PDF with everything there. So first thing we see is not center, so that was probably unchecked by accident. But those are the drawings in a tabloid space. This is a plan exactly at 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. Obviously, we have to treat it. We have to actually fill the wall, which is something we will do. And I'm explaining the videos, etc., etc. I have two PDFs. I go to InDesign and I have the plans. I get rid of this, for example, and I say place. Plan. If you place in InDesign and you do this, meaning dragging around, you just ruin the scale problem. So you have to only click once. This clicking once is exactly 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So I do a, now another thing is this probably an improper layer, so do not print, make it, take it into the images or drawings. And then under text, label, plan. The scale 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. I can obviously select a nicer font, the one you're probably using around. I can probably make the plan a little bit bigger and bold if we have a bold option. And then the scale could be just slightly smaller. And even light gray. I have to change this to black. Anyway. There we go. We align it nicely and properly to the edge of the wall. We make sure that box is nicely put together. Press W to see how it looks. This is, well, you don't see it nicely because it's in design, as you know, but this is a perfectly vector base with its own nice title. Perfect. W again to go back, and I place the next one. File, place, the 3D. The axonometric, you can click one, that would be a 1/8, and that's perfect. But probably axonometric, if you don't scale it, you don't want to give it scale, you can make it a little bigger, smaller. But if you want to scale it, you make sure that it's actually not deformed. No? That's up to you. And here the
question. Could you take that plan into Illustrator and like fill the walls in and stuff?
Yes. So we will talk about that another day. But basically, what you do is, well, number one, it's a PDF. What does that mean? Illustrator and PDFs are very close friends, no? So I can go to desktop, sorry, wherever I saved it, and open the PDF directly. There it is. So you have it. Problems of this, layers, none. It's a PDF, all of the layers are flat. That's a problem, but you can start filling here. The best solution is File, Export, DWG. But you have to be in the plan, in the view. And you will export it. Okay, well, normally you will take it a little lower, just in case it's a problem with the versions. And here you will, I think you can open directly. No. Let me see if I can open the DW. No, I can't. I need to create a new file. Okay, and I need to import, no? Place. Let me see if that works. Level 5. And there you go. This now, I'm going to scale up, but you shouldn't, has all of the layers. It should have all of the layers. Definitely, they're given by. So I probably just did it incorrectly. Let me try again that. When you export as a DWG and you open in AutoCAD, all of the layers are there. So when you import it or you take it into Illustrator, as we have learned, all of the layers come. So you should have all of the layers with no problem. I'm not sure, in my case, why is it not doing that? Let me see. Here, merge layers, probably that's the issue. No, for some reason, no. I can take a look at this and see, but I know you can do it with no problem. Just take it, export it as a DWG. The layers come with it. You can work in AutoCAD and do the fill-ins in AutoCAD if you want. But as we know from AutoCAD to Illustrator, the layers are kept. So that would be the way to go about it. Okay, I can take a look at this and then get back to you again.
Thank you.
So there, 2 minutes pass. Sorry for that. I'm gonna stop the